Silberg Watson. George. Mr. Chair. Yes, sir. Ready? Ready? Monday, November 14, 2011. South Bend Common Council is now in session. Arise to the invocation by Vice President Oliver Davis. Let us pray. Dear God, we thank you so much for being here tonight. We thank you for all the veterans who are in our room. We thank you for all the service that they gave to our country and are giving to our country. We thank you for those who have come to help us to always remember those who are victims of child abuse. Let us continue to bless those families, and maybe do all we can to prevent all the child abuse in this city, Lord. Continue to guide us and bless this council that we may make wise decisions for the city. And continue to bless the city of South Bend. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Gordy, read the roll. Mr. Henry Davis. Henry's here. Mr. LaFountain.
Here.
Mrs. Pizzello.
Present.
Dr. Martin.
Present.
Vice President Oliver Davis.
Present.
Mr. Curtis.
Present.
Councilmember Rouse. Present. Councilmember White.
Present.
President Pierce.
9 present.
You can have a report from the subcommittee on minutes. To the Common Council of the City of South Bend, the subcommittee has inspected the minutes of the October 24th, 2011 meeting of the council and found them to be correct. Therefore, we recommend the same be approved. Signed, Derek Dieter, David Vernon.
I move that we accept the report from the subcommittee on minutes.
Second. There's a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposition on that? Under special business, we'd like to announce that the only council meeting in December and the last council member for 4 of our members will be held on December 12th. Mr. Vorty, under also special business, can you read 1164?
A resolution of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, to help raise greater awareness of child abuse and neglect and to urge the support of the public to get involved in preventing child abuse and neglect in our community.
Ivan?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Council members and also the public, I thank you all for coming out this evening. Under these circumstances, I'm not excited. However, I think this is something that we should actually use as a point of talk, as a priority. This past week, we had an opportunity, well, obviously, a bad incident happened on West Washington Street with the child being beaten by his father, beaten to death by his father. And as I play this over in my mind, because it's part of the district that I represent, I cannot remember going to this house not one time while I was knocking on doors. I can remember going to every house, but for whatever reason, I could not remember going to that house. And so it puts like a dark cloud, because maybe I could have knocked on the door and saw something or somehow seen a child or become more of a friend to that area. But circumstances as they are, you can't prevent them all. So today I thought, based upon the life of Trevino Sturgis and some of the other things that are going on nationally and worldwide, where we have a situation in Penn State that's getting worse and worse by the minute, and also seeing something in the newspaper or on CNN earlier today, a Tennessee woman drowned her 2 infant twins. This thing is serious. This thing is something not to be taken lightly. I think that us as civic leaders, elected officials, some of us being public safety officers as well, and understanding that there was a report in the South Bend Tribune, I think this past April, where it showed that child advocacy groups that are here in St. Joe County and in South Bend, Indiana, some of them are understaffed. And you probably can never be overstaffed dealing with a lot of children and kids in the area. But knowing that the resources potentially could be better than what they are, I think this is an opportunity for us to start pledging our support to take care of our children. The city of South Bend only will be as good as its children are, and we don't grow unless our children grow. And so as I continue on and talk about this, I'm going to offer those who came and supported this resolution to join me at the microphone as we read through, and then we're going to have a public portion as well. So those from Prevent Child Abuse, St. Joe County, if you want to come stand, or if you can stand in your areas, we'll appreciate it. And also, if there's ever any opportunity as far as the city is concerned and our resources that we have here, I know we're going to be transitioning to a brand new council year, brand new administration. But to keep this in the forefront, I will, request that we, as a council, those who will be returning, and if you're not returning, this still is an issue for your city, to make sure that we are looking forward to any possible collaborations or opportunities to start assisting in these child advocacy groups because it's necessary, becoming mentors, being the people that we say that we are because it's necessary. It is quite necessary. So I present to you today resolution number 412511, bill number 64, and it's a resolution of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, to help raise greater awareness of child abuse and neglect, and to urge the support of the public to get involved in preventing child abuse and neglect in our community. Whereas nationally, a report of child abuse is made every 10 seconds, with almost 5 children a day losing their lives each day, and the rate of child abuse being estimated to be 3 times greater than what is reported. And whereas in Indiana, 38 children died as a result of neglect, abuse, in 2009, with 89% of the children who died from abuse or neglect being 5 years of age or younger, and 68% of the children were under the age of 2 years of age. Whereas recent news reports at the local and national levels show that the very dire state of affairs involving child abuse and neglect cases, with Indiana reporting that more than 105,000 reports of child abuse and neglect are taken on average each year. And whereas such alarming facts underline the urgent need for any person who has reason to believe that a child is a victim or a victim of child abuse, or neglect, make a report to any of these following agencies: Child Abuse Hotline, South Bend Police Department, St. Joseph County Police Department, and the Mishawaka Police Department. With Indiana Code 313351 setting forth the duty to report requirements, the state of Indiana's current website reports that at least 1 child dies each week of an unsafe environment. And whereas child abuse or neglect refers to a child who is alleged to be in the need of service, with the governing Indiana state law being set forth at Indiana Code 3134.1. And whereas there is nothing in juvenile code which limits the right of a person to use reasonable corporal punishment when disciplining a child if the person is the parent, guardian, or custodian of the child. And whereas any person other than the accused who makes a report of child abuse or neglect is immune from criminal or civil liability unless that person acted maliciously or in a bad faith. And whereas there are many programs and agencies working hard to prevent child abuse and neglect in our community, some of which include Prevent Child Abuse, who has been a part of St. Joseph County since 1993, and in 2009 joined the family of affiliates at Family and Children's Center, who dedicated to strengthening the emotional and behavioral health of the community, who joined with the mentors of Washington High School to address child abuse and neglect in their health classes, resulting in more than 20 students working with WSBT Radio Group to produce public service announcements. The Casey Center, a child advocacy center serving the needs of children and families of St. Joseph County. Special Victims Unit of St. Joseph County Prosecutor's Office, which was originally established in 1996 as a STOP unit and renamed and expanded in 2003 to be a multi-jurisdictional, multidisciplinary collaboration and investigation and prosecution of family justice center, and many of these other organizations such as Healthy Families of St. Joseph County, CASA of St. Joseph County, and for more than For over a decade, programs like Roof Sit, where U93 donates an entire week of airtime and broadcast from the roof of Martin Supermarket to help educate the community and raise financial donations for the prevention of child abuse. Now, therefore, let it resolve. The Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana follows. Section 1. The Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana believes that our community must rededicate our efforts to prevent child abuse and neglect. Section 2. The Common Council urges all persons to work with agencies who are dedicating their efforts to prevent child abuse and neglect. And with the adoption of resolution, the Council wishes to heighten the public awareness that child abuse and neglect will not be tolerated in our community. Section 3. The resolution shall be in full force and effect from its and after its adoption by the Common Council and approval by the Mayor. Signed by Henry Davis Jr., Second District Common Council member. So I ask for your favorable support on this.
All right, thank you, sir. Anyone like to speak in favor of 1164?
Hello, my name is Jennifer Pickering, and I am from Prevent Child Abuse St. Joe County. I would just like to thank Mr. Davis and the Council for bringing this resolution to the table. I did want to let you know, Mr. Davis, we heard you say that you can't prevent them all, but we certainly believe you can, and that's what we intend to do. What I was asked to speak about today was what the Council could bring to the table. So I just wanted to give you a little information. In the last reported year, there were almost 5,000 reports of abuse and neglect made in St. Joseph County. Excuse me. What we have seen is while we've seen a decrease in physical abuse reports, we have seen neglect go up. These are reports from 2009, so we can only anticipate that these are going to continue to go up in the future with the state of the economy. So things the Council can do are support programs like food pantries or other organizations that are providing clothing assistance, heating assistance to families. We also need to make sure that safe and affordable housing is available for our families. I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous. The Council can further assist by making sure we're enforcing the current laws that are on the books, working with law enforcement and our prosecutors to hold abusers accountable for their actions. We must support community resources and programs serving families down to simple things like after-school programming and summer programming for children. The Council can further help by assuring funding decisions that are currently being made in Indianapolis are not affecting the quality of care in St. Joseph County. Very recently, the Department of Child Services returned $104 million to the State General Fund, reporting that we did not need those. That they did not need those funds in that calendar year. At the same time, they've been looking at reducing services, reducing residential stays, and reducing stays in foster care. So we just want to make sure that as we're making choices for our children, it's driven by their needs and not by cost. So finally, you can help by doing just what you're doing right now, making sure that everybody knows that they do have a duty to report, and we sincerely hope this call to action will bring about change in this community. Thank you.
Okay, can we get your business address for the record, please?
My business address is 315 West Jefferson Boulevard, South Bend, 46601.
Right, thank you. Anyone else like to speak in favor of 1164? Anyone in opposition? Council members, any comment? I would just like to congratulate Councilman Davis and all of those who are here tonight in support of this resolution. As a social worker, I have had a profession of over 20 years of seeing families who have gone from emotional abuse, physical abuse, all the different types of abuse. And I think that the more we can all do as a community and wrap around the different families here, that we can continue to help do like what you talked about, prevent all of them as we can, and that's our goal. And so I applaud this effort and make sure that our community takes this very seriously. So therefore, I make a recommendation that we do this unanimously.
Second.
Affirmation. Right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any report on city offices? Seeing none, do I have a motion to resolve as the committee of the whole?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for coming.
Committee of the Whole is now in session. This is the portion of our council meeting where we hear the second and third readings, the second reading public hearings, and the report from the standing committees on the various items that's on the agenda under the resolve of the Committee of the Whole. The first order of business this evening is Bill number 3411. It comes to the council. Is there a committee report, please?
Yes, there is, Mr. Chairman. The Zoning and Annexation Committee met this afternoon, and after weighing the pros and cons, sent Bill 3411 to the full council with no recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. Curtis. Is there a... read it, please? Yeah. Mr. Morty, if you will read 3411.
Public hearing on a bill amending the zoning ordinance for property located at 3500 block of East McKinley Avenue and 600 block of Hickory Road, Councilmanic District 4 in the city of South Bend, Indiana.
There's a motion to hear the substitute version. So moved.
Second, yeah.
You've heard the motion and the second to hear the substitute version of Bill 3411. All in favor, so indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries. Presenter present, please.
Good evening. Kristen Nader with the Area Planning Commission. Office is located on the 11th floor of this building. The petitioner is requesting a zone change from the CB Community Business District to the PUD Planned Unit Development District to allow a number of uses including commercial, single-family, multifamily, and self-storage. Because this is a PUD Planned Unit Development, it will come back before the Area Planning Commission staff for a final site plan. This is a view of the McKinley parcel from the middle of the parking lot area. This is a view from McKinley looking north at the McKinley parcel. And this is a view south at the Hickory Road parcel. The McKinley parcel is 15.6 acres and is split into two phases. The Hickory parcel is 0.75 acres. There are three phases altogether. So phase 1, which is the northern 364 feet of the McKinley parcel, which is outlined in pink on the site plan, is shown as self-storage units, but could also include any of the uses proposed in phases 2 or 3. The buffering for phase 1 includes a 6-foot-high privacy fence and 14 evergreen trees. There's also a landscaping area to the south of phase 1. Phase 2, which is the remainder of the McKinley parcel outlined in red, proposes uses allowed in any of the following districts: SF1, SF2, MF1, MF2, and CB districts. The residential districts have been defined as the maximum number of units per acre. Single family would be developed between 5 and 10 acres per unit, 5 and 10 units per acre, and multifamily would have a maximum number of 30 units per acre. Phase 3, which is the Hickory parcel, proposes uses allowed in the CB, MF1, and MF2 districts. There will be one sign on McKinley, one sign on Hickory, according to the standards for integrated center freestanding identification signs. The percentage of open space for the whole development will be 15%. All other standards shall comply with the current South Bend zoning ordinance. To the north, west, and south are single-family homes zoned SF1, single-family district. To the east is a multiple of uses including a single-family homes, a cell phone tower, a dentist office, the Elks Club, the vacant Stephen Barry store, all zoned CB Community Business District. Prior to the public hearing, we received one letter in favor and one letter in opposition, and at the public hearing there were 9 remonstrators. The Area Planning Commission sends this to the Common Council with an unfavorable recommendation. Any questions?
Thank you. Questions to the presenter, please.
Yes, Mr. Chair. While the area plan sends this to with an unfavorable recommendation, could you state about what your staff is recommending to us?
The staff's recommendation to the Area Planning Commission was favorable, subject to 4 commitments. Do you want me to read those commitments in?
Please read those commitments.
The addition of 7 evergreens for a total of 21 along the north and west property lines of Phase 1, which would meet the requirements of Table 21-07.01-B. Number 2, the landscaping area on the south line of Phase 1 needs to conform to the South Bend zoning ordinance based on the type of uses ultimately developed in Phase 2. Number 3, the height of all buildings shall be limited to 40 feet or 3 stories. And number 4, if Phase 2 develops as multifamily, landscaping along the west property line must at a minimum meet the Type A open requirements as defined in the South Bend zoning ordinance.
Is it, follow-up to that, is it your understanding that the petitioner is in agreement from your understanding of that, or is there any?
From the committee meeting earlier, yes. I believe that the petitioner would be willing to meet those commitments.
And that was recommended by your committee, your staff?
That was recommended by the staff, correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions of the presenter? Council member? Thank you. Would that was the presenter of the petitioner, please come and state your name and address.
Good evening. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, the council. My name is Frank Perry. Reside at 234 South Coquitlam Drive. I'm a business here in South Bend under the name Earth Designs. I'm the owner of the property and the petitioner. Give you a little background on the project. First of all, I've been involved in one way or another trying to acquire and develop this parcel for going on 9 years. Previous to my current ownership, which took place about 3 years ago, was involved in attempting to purchase it from the former owner of the Target store, which was a Canadian-owned company. We came close to a deal, but didn't quite make one. At that time, it would have been the entire 25 acres, and we would have been before you with a similar type of PUD, only more expansive in the fact that we would have 26 acres, and we would have had to have some redesigns and reuse for the current 120,000 square foot building that sits on the site. I say that because I wanted to let you know I'm not only familiar with the property with a short term, my ownership over the last 3 years, but over even a broader time, and have knowledge that will present to you tonight in terms of the proposals that plans and concepts that I've had over the years in trying to redevelop a very difficult site. We've had a lot of market conditions. When I purchased the property 3 years ago, Feed and Berries, I had taken over and was a viable business. And as such, since that time, of course, they vacated, company has gone under, and unfortunately, the property has seen a lot of vandalism, a lot of tagging and theft, which is unfortunate. But that's just what happens when you have a deteriorating condition. And I've been unable to attract the kind of infrastructure investment from the city of South Bend necessary to do what I would really like to do, which is a large residential development, probably mixed type, single family and multifamily uses. I will say this, that when purchasing the property, it has a CB zoning, and I think that's been mentioned, the community business zoning. Community business zoning has been in place now since, I think, 2004. Prior to that, it had both a commercial zoning and a multifamily zoning, so it does have history for multifamily and commercial, both, on this site. I believe that developing it as a commercial site would be more detrimental to the neighborhood than, in fact, the plans, most of the plans that I'm presenting under the single-family and multifamily uses. You could put the property closer to the neighbors, and you could build as high as 50 feet. I think that would be detrimental. My intent is not to be detrimental. My intent is to develop market rate product as well as I can to meet the market needs. I did a market analysis of the surrounding properties, both the commercial and the residential properties, and unfortunately we're in a little bit of a declining market. Now that's partially due to current market conditions, but as a backdrop, that's been one of the difficulties I've had in trying to attract capital to the site. I need the PUD zoning because I have to have flexibility in design. The flexibility allows me to do a number of different development types. For example, mixed single family, maybe with some duplex and some multifamily. That will allow for a greater market desirability and possibly then a feasible plan of investment. In terms of a little history, and I think I passed out some things earlier today, even under the best of circumstances, larger parcels of this type are difficult to develop in just one plan, one concept plan. A plan, quite often, cannot be 15 acres in size, which is very large. I am going to anticipate and plan to do this over a number of phases. I think Krista Nyers, Peter, explained that there would be 3 phases. Now, my hope is that we would be able to do it over a course of 5 years. It could take longer. I don't want to mislead anybody into believing that this is a short-term fix. However, I do believe that I can attract capital in one of 2 major areas that have shown interest: self-storage units and in the senior housing multifamily part of the plan. There has been interest in those 2, and I'm working on those. I've had 5 concept plans prior presented, and I think I gave those to you earlier. So rather than go over them in detail, they all represent what could have been uses for the property based on a plan, if not for some of the economics and some of the market conditions. The most viable one is one that could have been a single duplex development, which would have required the city of South Bend to invest some $975,000 in order to build infrastructure, water, sewer, and curbs and such. However, finances being what they are, and I certainly understand that, that is not available to any properties that aren't in TIF areas. This property is not in a TIF area. That plan had a lot of attention from local builders, and I still continue to be in contact with them over the hopes that we may someday put in that some mix of single and duplex properties. I've also shown site plans which show the current storage in combination with some single and duplex housing. That is my current focus, is to try to bring some development money into this project to do just that, to build that housing. Fully built out, when this plan is fully built out, the investment would range between $10 and $15 million. Now, I used a series of assumptions of different product types, which is, again, why I'm asking for the PUD, the Planned Unit Development, to allow these different types. It will generate estimated annual income taxes between $250,000 and $300,000, and it'll create a lot of jobs. Create construction jobs, and it'll create permanent jobs. And I believe that it will be good for the community, and especially good for the neighborhood surrounding the site in improving values. What I ask you to consider today in approving this PUD is to allow me the opportunity to infuse much-needed investment in the city of South Bend. This is a fairly large infill tract, very difficult to develop. Area Plan Commission themselves, in the staff giving their recommendation to approve this, stated as such, and stated that planned unit developments were designed to allow this kind of flexibility and creativity. And I ask for that. I also ask you to recognize my track record in the business. I've been before you a lot with planned unit developments, single developments, changes of use, changes of zoning over the years. And quite frankly, I don't intend to let the neighbors down, nor you down, in pursuing respectable and fundamentally strong growth. I think the realities of the current market demand that I do a PUD in this, and that is why I'm here before you. I believe that South Bend would be it would be a great thing for the east side on a site that has never had any development, nor any interest in development, because the former owner was really out of town, and in fact, out of country developer who had no interest in developing this site back in the days when I guess you could say we were a much more viable commercial market in that neighborhood. So today, I ask you to give me the chance in approving this PUD to allow me to put into use several uses which would complement each other and would allow some much needed tax revenue to flow back into the city for their uses.
Thank you, Mr. Perry. Council members, is there a question of the the petitioner?
Yes, Mr. Perry, were you able to meet with the neighbors at all from Berkcliff Estates and McKinley?
I did. I met with the Berkcliff Estate neighbors, and we had a nice meeting at a building that I actually own there, the former Key Bank building on 3600 block of McKinley. And from what I could gather from the meeting, the primary objection was the multifamily zoning. However, I've been in this business over 30 years, and I can't say that I know too often that I've ever had the neighbors really in favor of a plan, development of this type, because it is, in fact, kind of hard to want to have additional traffic, because there's going to be some, additional people, because there are going to be some, and additional businesses with what goes on in a business. I will say this, though, that they were very cordial. They just thought we don't see eye to eye, let's put it that way. And I didn't meet with the McKinley Terrace neighbors because I didn't know who to meet with. However, I did meet with the adjacent neighbor on the corner, talk to him.
Mr. Davis, you talked about the success of your track record. Could you share more about that again, and in terms of your commitment to this community versus an outside developer?
Well, what I can speak to is that I was born and raised here, and I still live here. I live about 2 miles from the site. I've been involved over 30 years in real estate. It's been my only career to speak of. And I've been involved in development of over 40 projects in one way, form, or fashion. I've been major partner and developer of at least a dozen of those projects. They range from everything from office buildings to industrial buildings, and I was even involved in a former large PUD on the outskirts of town, Portage Prairie. I've done some development in Mishawaka, but all the investment I've done, probably 90% of it, 85 to 90% of it has been in the city of South Bend. Does that answer your question?
No, I think it answers the question because, sometimes, as you heard today, there's been some concerns with other developers who have come in who have promised to do certain things with PUDs and then follow through. How do you look at address those kind of issues?
Well, this is not my first time before you, and it, God willing, will not be my last. I have other investments in the city. I recently acquired a large parcel, which a very important parcel in the city of South Bend, and I hope to develop that. Maybe before you for that, for some assistance on that, I don't know, or at least some. I may need a rezoning change. I'm not sure yet. I've done, and all I can speak to is the fact that I'm not going to run. I'm not going to cut, date, and run after spending my entire life here. This is where I am. This is who I am. I just ask you to take that into consideration, and I think that sometimes what happens is that developers can give other developers black eye. I don't know too many people who are going to side with the poor old little developer, because generally speaking, it's I don't think that's at all how developers are looked at by the public by and large. We're capitalists after all. I mean, that's what we do. We do it for a profit. But I will say that I have been involved in civic organizations in this community. I've been involved in my development practices, and I'm committed to the community. And I hope that does stand for something to me.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else questions? Mr. Perry, you make mention of the fact that you've been engaged in this property in various capacities for 9 years. You also indicated in committee that one of the problems you've had in getting this property developed, the fact that it's not in the TIF district. Was there ever an attempt to create a TIF district in this area?
No, there has not been, and the TIF laws have changed quite drastically over the last few years. Whereby now the procedure is totally different. I couldn't even speak to it. Much more difficult. Has to go down state first. I believe the state of Indiana has changed the rules, quite frankly, and making it, fairly difficult. It's
that
not
was
impossible.
A circuit breaker, but that doesn't go back 9 years. But I'm asking you, was there ever an attempt prior to the law changing to create a TIF district in that area?
No, I did not control the property prior to the law change.
Any other questions from the council? Yes.
Mr. Perry, at the committee meeting, you verified that you would be willing to incorporate the 4 written commitments. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So you would be open to an amendment to the substitute bill?
I am.
Okay. I would like to make that for the council to consider to amend Section 3 by adding a new sentence at the very end of that section, which would read, This ordinance shall be subject to the written commitments outlined in the Area Plan Commission staff report on page 3, where 4 items addressing screening, landscaping, and height restrictions are set forth.
Second.
You've heard the motion and the second to amend the area plan report, and Mr. Perry will sign a memorandum of agreement in that?
No, you are specifically amending the section of the substitute bill. If it is passed by the council, it would then go back to the Area Plan Commission for their review and approval.
We're amending the substitute bill 3411. All in favor, so indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, the motion carries. Thank you, Mrs. Farron. Anyone present wishing to speak in favor of Bill 3411? Please come to the podium and state your name and address.
Gary King, 730 North Hill Street, South Bend, resident of the 4th District. And I've lived in St. Joe County since about 1974 or 5. We first moved north of Mishawaka, did our stopping when this building was still a target, and wondered ever since then why there's nothing around there. Looks like it was set up to have more buildings there, and it's just a space that is of no use to anybody. It's not like a park where children play. It's not like a football stadium where people enjoy a game. It's just there. And it needs some development, and the type of development that Mr. Perry is proposing is exactly what would fit into that area. Mr. Perry says he lives about 2 miles away. Well, here's a map of the 4th District. The development is proposed for this corner right here in South Coquillard, where he lives, is just there. It's less than 2 miles. He is one of our neighbors. We should be able to trust our neighbors way more than we would trust anybody from Canada or Chicago or anywhere else. He's committed to making sure that the program works and that the project succeeds. I don't think he wants to have a black mark. I would also go on to say that we know that people will remonstrate. People will object because there might be more traffic. There might be more people living in the area than there are now. But I would remind you that South Bend was recognized as a dying city about 9 months ago because we are having a decline in our population, especially, and by definition in the article, decline among young people. The ages, say, 18 to 30 don't want to live here. It's not that they don't want to live here, it's that it's difficult to buy a home when you're just starting off in a career. They need apartments. Multi-family dwellings, any other type of apartment is a good place. He also proposes a senior living quarters as a possibility. That's also a good use. They'll be near shopping, near doctor's offices. It's a good place to have this type of development. People should not be afraid that there might be more people in the neighborhood. People should not be afraid that there might be more traffic at some times of the day. That's why they invented traffic lights and stop signs, so you can regulate the traffic. You can put the driveways where they need to be so that the ingress and egress are smooth. This is our chance to put some property into our community where people can enjoy it and succeed and generate a little bit more tax revenue to help support the rest of the city's activities. I would strongly urge the council to approve this bill.
Thank you, Mr. King. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor, please come to the podium and state your name and address.
Jesse Davis, 1333 East Calvert, South Bend. I've lived in this area for 47 years. And I used to shop at the Target store. I shopped at the Stephen Berry store. And what the gentleman prior to me said is very true. That site's been, pretty rough looking for a lot of years. Since Stephen Berry's moved out of there, there's been a lot of abandoned cars. They've been beat up, windows broke out, vandalism, as was said. And, with the economy where it's at, all the struggling our cities have had, including South Bend, You know, we need to promote business growth. We need to promote some things that are going to make our city grow. That's what the council says. That's what the mayors are saying, the newspapers, everybody. But it seems that a lot of things come up and they get turned down because of some frivolous ordinances that are in place about signage and trees being planted and things of that nature. So I think when you have something like this before you, you really need to look at it really hard and say, hey, look, you know, this is a site that hasn't had any development for decades. And the neighborhood there, probably in the long run, will appreciate the development. I had fought some development because it was going to take a view away from me at one point in time. And after the developments happened, you know, it was all better for the city and the community and our neighborhood, and it raised our property values. So I think this is one time that they need to look at this and say, hey, look, this gentleman's lived here basically his entire life. He's willing to invest some money into the city, and we need to help him if we can so that this can take place.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of Bill 3411, please come to the podium and state your name and address. Anyone present wishing to speak against it, the same option. Please come to the podium, state your name and address. Seeing none, hearing none, council, is there a motion, please?
For favorable recommendation as amended.
You've heard the motion and the second to send for favorable recommendation and substitute Bill 3411.
As amended.
As amended. In the committee of the whole. All in favor, so indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay. Mr. Bordy, call the roll.
Mr. Henry Davis. Aye. Mr. LaFountain.
Nay.
Mrs. Cuzzello.
Nay.
Dr. Varner.
Aye.
Vice President Oliver Davis.
Aye.
Mr. Kirsten.
Nay.
Councilmember Rouse.
Aye.
Councilmember White.
Aye.
President Dieter.
Aye.
6 ayes, 3 nays.
All right, substitute amended Bill 3411 will go to third reading favorably, full council favorably.
Make a motion to continue 5811 to 121211.
Second.
You've heard the motion and the second to continue 5811 until December the 12th, 2011. All in favor, so indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carried. Mr. Bordy, would you please give second reading to Bill 6511?
Public hearing on a bill of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, appropriating $250,000 for maintenance of Alonzo Watson Pedestrian Bridge traversing Chapin Avenue in the City of South Bend in 2011.
Thank you, Mr. Bordy. Mr. Mayor, state your name and address. Committee report. Thank you, Mayor.
Earlier this afternoon, bill number 6511 came in front of the Personnel and Finance Committee for consideration. At that time, public hearing was held, and the committee voted to send this to the full council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. LaFountain. Mr. Mayor, would you please state your name and address and give your presentation?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. My name is Stephen Lickey, Mayor of the City of South Bend, offices on the 14th floor of this building. Appreciate the opportunity to come before you this evening to request the appropriation of $250,000 for maintenance of the existing pedestrian bridge over Chapin Street, just south of Western Avenue. This is a structure which has been in place for decades, which we have neglected in terms of maintenance, and it is in sore need of that maintenance. We are proposing to scrape and paint the structure, to do some minor concrete patching, to weld a bolt that is important for stabilizing the structure, to replace the wearing surface on the arched portion of the bridge that has worn away and needs to be replaced, and probably to replace the fencing rather than to paint the existing fencing. These are all maintenance items on the bridge, and believe that they are important for continuing use of the bridge, to continue it to be a safe means of transport across the street. We believe with the opening of the new Kroc Center next year, that there will be significant use of this structure by pedestrians to cross the street, and I believe it is for the betterment of our community to take care of this facility. So be glad to answer any questions that you might have, but certainly ask for your favorable consideration of this appropriation.
Thank you, Mayor. Council members, is there a question? Mr. Davis, Oliver Davis.
Mr. Mayor, is it possible that you could have Mr. Jalot to read the numbers regarding how much traffic is in that area that he shared with us earlier today as part of your presentation?
I recall the numbers were 6,000 vehicles on Chapin Street and 13,000 vehicles on Western Avenue.
Okay, you got it. And could you talk about how that compares to other areas?
We would call Chapin Street a collector street. That is, it funnels traffic into main arterials, so it's certainly heavier usage than a residential street, but obviously not as significant as you see on Western Avenue or as you would see on Michigan or Main or Lincoln Way West, Sample Street, that are arterials in our community.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Peter, you have a question?
Sure, I'll just follow up on that. How many, do you have other traffic counts of busy intersections in South Bend that would be more than that 6,000, 13,000?
Well, I certainly mentioned a number. Michigan, Main Street would have more than those. But Gary, I don't know, do you have...
Gary Jalot, Public Works Director. My offices are on the 13th floor. There are 200 signalized city and state intersections in South Bend, and I would put this in, say, the top 30 traffic counts.
Okay. So then, just for the sake of Ms. White, those 30 that would be above that, you think that would necessitate a footbridge being there to get safe crossing across those streets?
We are not proposing to build a new footbridge, but we are proposing to...
That wasn't my question,
If there were not a footbridge there at this point, I would not be proposing to build a new one, but because we have an existing footbridge, we feel it's appropriate to maintain that bridge and to provide an additional means of safe crossing of the street.
Ms. White, please.
And also in terms of the traffic count, I believe that is discussed in the committee meeting that the 6,000 will probably increase because of the Kroc Center and the type of activity that would generate as well.
We know that there, in addition to just the daily activity at the Kroc Center, which will bring additional people to that site, that there will be special events there too that will lead to increased traffic. At this point, it's hard to predict what that additional traffic count might be. I don't think it's going to take Chapin Street from 6,000 to 13,000 per day, but there certainly will be. We would expect some increase both on Western and on Chapin Street.
Mr. Oliver Davis.
Could you talk about the upkeep of the bridge, especially during the wintertime and other times, and how that would be done and what you shared with us today?
We've had indication from both the Kroc Center that they would be willing to participate in shoveling snow off the bridge so that it continues to be a viable pathway, but also, and I'll let Ms. Leonard-Dent speak for the Housing Authority in committee this afternoon. She suggested that their maintenance crew as well would be willing to participate in that effort.
And a follow-up with the ADA issue. You are, from your legal attorney, talked about the possibilities of us still being in compliance due to the fact that it's a repair and not necessarily new. Could you share more about that ADA issue?
Yes. Because this is maintenance of an existing structure, we believe that it does not trigger the requirement to comply with ADA specifications. This is a painting of the bridge. It's replacing a wearing surface on the bridge. This does not rise to the level of a major repair to the structure. If we were to one of the approach ramps was crumbling and we needed to replace that approach ramp, then the new ramp would have to meet ADA specifications. But maintenance does not trigger that requirement.
And there's a case that he gave us. I know you're not an attorney, but for our attorney, are you aware of that case so you can look up for the record that he shared with us?
I am aware of it. It took place in 2001 in the city of Indianapolis.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the council? Seeing none, hearing none, anyone present wishing to speak in favor of the bill, please come to the podium and state your name and address. Anyone present wishing to speak in favor of the program? Bill 6511. Please come and state your name and address.
My name is Gerald McKinney. I live at 501 Alonzo Watson Drive here in South Bend, apartment 304. I'm not in favor of it at all.
No. We're just here in favor right now.
Right.
We'll hear from you in a few minutes. Speaking in favor right now, and we'll hear the opposition in a few minutes. State your name and address, Ms. Washington.
Good evening. I'm Angela Watson, Washington, 1229 Echo Drive, South Bend, and I'm here to speak in favor of the appropriation for this bill. I believe that pedestrian bridge has 3 specific points that we need to keep in mind when you're voting on this. Of course, the safety measure, in addition to the improvements that were made at the intersection of Western and Chapin. There's also an historic value. As a lifetime member of South Bend, I know that pedestrian bridge has been there almost as long as I have. But there are also some psychological benefits that I'd like for you to also consider for the community, for the area residents, and for the future patrons of the Kroc Center. That bridge also visually represents a connection to new opportunities that the Kroc Center is going to offer, and I just hope that you also keep that in mind.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Gladys Muhammad at 808 North Ironwood. And first of all, I want to thank Councilman Henry Davis for putting children first today. Oftentimes we get caught up with the politics, the business, and the economics of today, of the moment, and we forget that we're making decisions about the future, the present, and the future of our community around our children. And I think I'm here to support. I'm glad that you made a favorable recommendation to maintain and fix up, repair the bridge. But of course, I want a brand new one with everything. But we can settle for that. I feel that it is going from nowhere to somewhere. It's a bridge out of poverty. For what Angela just said, an opportunity for our children in public housing to cross over that bridge and go to the Kroc Center and have those quality services that everyone else in our community has often been entitled to. I feel that it's a difference between open swim and swim lessons and all those opportunities that they're going to get at that Kroc Center. So again, I want to thank you for sending it for a favorable recommendation. And again, it's going from nowhere to somewhere. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Randall Bird. I live at 425 Alonzo Watson Drive, and I'm in favor of reestablishing that bridge itself because I look at the fact that in that area we have numerous small children that do and will be using that crossover to go to the Kroc Center. And with the Kroc Center being built, it would also add a lot of more, pedestrians going across there. We also in that area have numerous people with disabilities, and going down Chapin Street itself, I live directly by the Chapin Street, and I look directly at the bridge where I live at. I can see directly at the bridge, I should say. And we have a lot of emergency vehicles that does go down Chapin Street itself. And with this in mind, I hope that you would give favorable recommendation to reestablish that bridge. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Tony Trinka, 139 Camden Street. And at one time there was talk of replacing that bridge, and I was all for that. I don't know why that got scrapped. The idea never came up. I think $600,000, and then it got to $700,000 for replacement, which I thought was a bargain. But for $250,000 to repair this bridge, make it functional and beautiful once again, I think is a heck of a deal. There are, I'm sure, busier intersections in the city. However, I don't think that there's even at those busier intersections, there's going to be the kind of pedestrian traffic that the Kroc Center is going to produce. So I think for that reason, we need a pedestrian bridge. Automobile traffic doesn't necessitate a pedestrian bridge. I think it's the pedestrian traffic that necessitates a pedestrian bridge, and there will be a lot of pedestrian traffic, especially with the housing, all the housing on the other side of Chapin, and to get across Chapin, I think it's vital. It's going to look nice after it's done. It's too bad it's not going to get replaced and rebuilt, but I suggest that you vote favorably for this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
My name is Valerie Daniels Houston, and I maintain an address at 205 Sadie Street in South Bend. And I spend a lot of time in the housing apartments across the street from the Kroc Center. I know how children cross that street. I may not agree with $250,000, but I do agree that if we're going to open up the Kroc Center and expect children to come out the gate that opens right in front of the street and go across that street, we better give them an option to go on that bridge, because I've seen them run across Western, going to the grocery store at Save-A-Lot. I've seen them run across Alonzo Watson and nearly get hit. And I know that if you open something that says candy, they're going to run across Chapin. So please make a favorable recommendation on that. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening, Common Council. I'm Marvin Leonard Dent, business address 501 Alonzo Watson Drive, residential address 5206 Hazelwood Court. It's humbling and a blessing to be in this room. I haven't been in this room, I didn't realize, for over 20 years when I worked for the city attorney's office. So it took me back to my second and fourth Mondays. The faces are the same, other than me and Kathy and John and Mary Beth, but it's good to see you again. I first want to give you, Councilman White passed it out, but there are about 140 other people who came to a meeting we had, and just leave a copy with the clerk of the petition and the cover letter that we sent to you. Just so I'll be brief, I'll read my remarks. Members of the council, I'm Marvin Leonard Dent, and I stand humbly and with much respect before you this evening in dual roles. I stand before you in support of Bill number 6511 and thank the mayor and the team for presenting it. My dual roles are both as executive director of the Housing Authority, which is on both sides of the pedestrian street bridge. The Housing Authority owns and manages over 800 properties and administers about 2,100 vouchers. Our properties are scattered between the 9 developments and hundreds of single-family homes. 5 of our 9 developments are right there at Chapin, Western, and Laurel Court. And so it's not just a few homes, it's over half of our development inventory. If I may, many times we talked about the bridge being symbolic and it just being a symbol or a monument, and that's partially true, but if I could, let me just give us a little walk back to 1968 when it was built. 1968 was a traumatic year for the nation, starting with the TET offensive in Vietnam, a sitting president electing not to run for office, the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. and Robert Kennedy, and the chaos of the Democratic Convention in Chicago. 2 African-American athletes raising a clenched fist during the playing of the national anthem at the Olympic Games, and ending the year with the man's first flight to the moon in Apollo 8. In brief, 1968 was a traumatic year, a year like no other in our history, and yet it was during this year that the South Bend Redevelopment Commission took the extraordinary step of symbolically and physically linking the west side of the city with the rest of the city with the Chapin Street pedestrian bridge. While initially this area remained largely neglected, offering little more than a bridge to an empty lot, eventually improvements provided a peace of mind to parents of over 400 low-income families living within a minute's walk of the bridge, assuring that their children would have safe crossing. I know this for a fact because in 1963, I was one of those children that would run across Chapin Street because there wasn't any bridge. And I was at Monroe Circle and, talking about, a young lady talked about what children would do, where our offices are now, Councilman Dieter, where it's all developed. That was actually undeveloped land, and we actually ran through thickets and woods and trees to get to what was then called Alonzo Watson Park, and the new project, which was Laurel Court. And there was no bridge where my family lived at 621 Monroe Circle, and where I now serve as executive director. Some 20 years later, Angela Washington's father, Alonzo Watson, began his work at the Housing Authority. And Al had a dream that one day families of all incomes would have the same opportunity to reach for their dreams. And this city, the Park Department, I believe the Common Council agreed by virtue of naming the park for Mr. Watson. And then along came the Kroc Center and Joan Kroc. And then later a street was named, or earlier a street was named in testimony to Al Watson. So to say that the bridge, the Housing Authority, Al Watson, and Joan Kroc is their symbolism is an understatement. Exactly what the bridge was originally built for and what it needs to stay for still exists. And looking at daily at the treasures that the Kroc Center is becoming and knowing that it will be for the rest of my life and the life of children and families at the Housing Authority, we need to nurture the dreams of thousands that come across the doors. As Gladys Muhammad said, who's one of our commissioners as well, that this is opening up the doors of opportunity. It's opening up the doors of a future. It's opening up the doors of all kinds of opportunities, and we need to bridge that gap. So I would encourage you to continue to support the bridge. For those who are thinking about it, I would encourage you to think about what would have happened if I had ran across that street in 1963 and my life had changed. You can't prevent everything, but you don't know who's running across that street and where they may end up being. I remember years ago being on the 14th floor of the County City building, looking out the south window at 621 Monroe Circle, and who knew that one day I would grow up and be administering part of the legal team and then transfer to the school corporation and was enforcing the consent decree. So you never know who's in public housing, but you do know that people in public housing don't always have a voice. So I stand not only as a former resident, but as executive director to say, don't look at this just as something that people didn't cross, they don't need. It was put there for people in public housing to cross, and people in public housing still need to cross over that bridge, not only symbolically, but in reality. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Dent. Next person come. I'm surprised that you would come after her. I thought you'd have enough sense to go before she spoke.
You got that right, sir. You definitely hit the nail on the head there. Good evening, members of the Common Council. Raphael Morton, 325 North Studebaker Street, South Bend, Indiana. I stand before you as the chairman of the Housing Authority of South Bend's Board of Commissioners. Also, as the president of the County Council, I understand the challenge and the task before you. As our executive director, Margaret Leonard Dent, so eloquently expressed in her remarks, there is clearly historical significance to the existence and need to maintain and preserve the Chapin Street pedestrian bridge. However, I must share with you that I have gained a great appreciation for and perspective about the value of this bridge, particularly given the construction of the Kroc Center and the overall aesthetics of the area and opportunities currently existing that are underway in the area, such as Ignition Park, and also because Chapin and Western are two of our main thoroughfares in the city. For historical reasons alone, I would be adamant about the city retaining and repairing the bridge. However, after attending a meeting with the public and Housing Authority residents called by our director and seeing that room filled and hearing resident after resident, as well as non-residents, get up one after another and passionately express that they see value and a need for the bridge, and with the Kroc Center opening, they definitely will use that bridge. And also to hear Major Bob from the Salvation Army express his support, and other city officials that came to the meeting in support of the bridge, all expressing sincerely what it means to them, to our city, and the Kroc Center. To say that the bridge is needed, to me, is an understatement. As chairman of the Board of Commissioners and a representative of the Housing Authority and our residents, I support the bill. We need and we will use and should keep and repair Chapin Street pedestrian bridge. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Morton. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of Bill 6511, please come to the podium and state your name and address. Anyone present wishing to speak against this, the same option.
Again, Jesse Davis, 1333 East Calvert Street. I guess I just had a couple of questions. Number one, they talk about pedestrian traffic on that bridge. I've lived here my whole life. I run a business here in town, and I'm in that area quite frequently. And I can't say that I've ever seen more than a couple people crossing that bridge. The mayor said we need to maintain it. We need to, keep this thing here. Why didn't we maintain it from the beginning and keep it operable? And can someone answer the question, how long has this bridge been inoperable? Are people allowed to cross it today? And if not, why haven't we taken care of that in the past? And why all of a sudden a rush? I'm pretty sure I read in the newspaper that when the Kroc Center started, and I'm not saying anything against the Kroc Center because it's a great thing, but I believe the city pretty much gave them a gift of, I believe it was $1 million or something for that project. We've been in a lot of turmoil over the St. Joe High School and the Stanley Dollar deal. If you really look at both of those, there's not much of a difference in the two as far as the gift goes. Also, as far as this ADA compliant, the mayor says, well, we believe that we'll be fine there. We don't need any more we believes. Our tax dollars are already being wasted on the Stanley Dollar deal, and we're going to end up in the same legal battle with more wasted tax dollars on this bridge. If they're going to go in there and do a major repair, as they're calling it, instead of a rebuild, we need to make sure that that is a definite thing, that we're not going to end up in a lawsuit, and we're not going to have to spend more tax dollars that apparently the city normally says they don't have to try and defend that lawsuit. Hopefully the mayor, somebody can answer some of the questions about the use of the bridge, how long it's been out of use, and things of that nature. I mean, they come up with a lot of statistics on the traffic, but they haven't said much about why it hasn't been maintained for all these years.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak against the Bill 6511? Yes, sir.
Yes, I'm okay to go now?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you much. Like I say, my name is Daryl McKinney. I live at 501 Alonzo Watson Drive, once again in apartment 304, right over at the Alonzo Watson Bridge. I'm against it because I heard many times today we started off this meeting with the best interest of the children. I took some notes today while at a VA meeting I went to for my health. I grew up just like Mrs. Give me your last name, Mrs. Dent back there. I grew up with her, and I lived at 623 West South Street back in the 60s also. And like she referred, back in the 60s there, we would run across the street, especially with the new projects. We're the old projects, but especially when Laurel Court put up a little fountain there, the water would come down, and it was almost somewhat like it wasn't a swimming pool, but you could put your feet in there and cool off during the summer. So we were running across that street just as quick as you could get there. Now, when once the bridge was built, we started riding our bikes across the bridge again for the safety of us. So our parents definitely appreciated it. And back then, some kids are actually getting hit by cars. Okay, so if I'm jumping ahead, some kids are getting hit by cars. You can go in and check the dates on that. So we couldn't cross that street. So that's one reason why that bridge was built. Okay, and again, we're talking about the safety of the children. Keep that in mind. That's the biggest thing. And since we're talking about rebuilding it, that bridge, hasn't been there for decades. It's been there for almost half a century. We're talking about. We're not just talking about a few decades that bridge has been there. It's like, the mayor suggesting like, they can just go ahead and rebuild it and everything would be fine with it. Right now, people back in the day, here lately, I've seen people dragging all types of things across that bridge. Okay, so that bridge is obviously weak. It needs to be rebuilt. It would be great to go ahead and paint over it like you suggest, to go ahead and do just a few things. And it would be to keep the safety for the kids right now. But what we're talking about is a new bridge. We've invested money over there. We've spent money, I should say, in the Family Dollar deal with St. Joe High School, all that money that we've spent. It wouldn't take that much time to tear down that old bridge, build a new one. If someone's going to give you a gift like the Kroc Center gave South Bend, Indiana, we should show the community we could also give a gift back to the community. Make the community over there smile a little bit. Make them proud for where they stay. You know, you don't give somebody a brand new suit or something like that and a brand new dress, ma'am. I was thinking about it from Saks Fifth Avenue, and you give them this city something that go to you shoes or us. You understand where I'm coming from? You don't give someone a gift that big and you just want to paint over it. If you're going to do it all the way. Make South Bend beautiful over there for the kids to be proud of their city, for their parents to be proud, and maybe to even bring up, it'll lift their spirits up now, like it lifted mine up back in the 60s. When we got that bridge, we are proud as I don't know what about. I'm going to the bridge was the first thing that came out of my mouth. Now that ragged bridge over here, they're not going to be proud of that. I was in that meeting also. And a lot of people in that meeting over here at 501 Alonzo Watson Drive were very disappointed with the mayor saying, oh, we're just going to repaint it. No, it's not going to take that. You got a brand new baseball stadium over there. You have a brand new Kroc Center over here. Give us a brand new bridge. Right now to fix it with $250,000. That sounds great temporarily, but it won't hold. We could go ahead and build it right now, get it out the way. Its bridge has been down for I don't know how long anyway. So go ahead and put a brand new bridge up right now. As long as it's been down, hey, you might as well tear it down, give us a brand new bridge. Okay, and we know with people, we know about things. I had a couple of things here about, let's say about the Indiana State Fair down there. You see how many people died over there by poor workmanship that got torn down at the Indiana State Fair. You see those people, you see those sad faces now on those people down there? Huh? Yeah. So those people down there obviously put up some poor construction that killed and destroyed, lives and all types of things down there. Because there was poor construction, because they probably put it up real quick, like what we're suggesting, put up a quick bridge or fix it for $250,000. And then sooner or later, someone on this panel or the mayor's office is going to say, oh boy, look at that, we just repainted it, and now you're going to be looking, I wish we would have put up a new one. Just like they did down at the Indiana State Fair. Oh, I wish we'd have did it right. I wish we'd have did it with more professionals. Look at your kids going down the road. They're going to be looking at that bridge. You want them to say, oh, did I put up a new bridge back in my time when you had the opportunity to? Or you going to say, oh, boy, why isn't it looking just like the Kroc Center? Look at that raggedy bridge going into the Kroc Center. Think about it. Do you want a brand new suit and a brand new dress and some raggedy shoes? Think about it. Which one do you want? So that's all I have to say. We need a brand new bridge over there that will boost the spirits of everyone in that old projects where I grew up at back in the 60s and over in the new projects, and that will match that Kroc Center. They gave us a great gift. Let's give them a great gift by showing that we appreciate what they gave us.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak against 6511? Seeing none, hearing none. Mr. Mayor, the rebuttal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Steve Lickey, Mayor of the City of South Bend. Appreciate the comments of all members of the public. Clearly there is a desire to maintain safe passageway from the Housing Authority property across the street to the new Kroc Center, and that's what we are proposing tonight. The bridge is not structurally deficient. If it were, we would not be proposing just maintenance of the bridge. The bridge is sound. What it needs is to be cleaned up and some maintenance so that it continues to function well for many years to come. Again, that's what we are proposing. The question is whether there will be a lawsuit or not. As we know, we are a litigious society, and anyone can bring a lawsuit at any time. Again, as we read the regulations, we believe that we can defend the maintenance aspect of this bridge successfully, and look forward to being able to make the bridge again a presentable structure that is proud passageway and a safe passageway across the street for residents of our community. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Dieter, I saw you.
On the cover page of 6511 with 6 items, do we have written estimates for these, or is that just a projection by Public Works?
That's our engineering estimate of the costs for doing the work.
But there's no written estimates on those?
We do not have written estimates on those.
Okay, if the estimates are more than that, what do we do?
If the estimates come in more than that, then we either have to find a way to come in within the budgeted amount, or we would have to come back to council for more dollars.
Mr. Mayor, go ahead, Mr.
Are you suggesting, Mr. Dieter, that we need to have a written estimate of everything before we vote?
Well, that would be my, I don't know, not to say that your people won't be wrong, but if there's an issue of another 150,000, or may or not be, but isn't it normal to get some estimates before we would make an appropriation?
We did get estimates from a professional engineer for the work to be done, and then increase the estimate amount by 20% to come to the figure that we have presented to council, so that we felt it would be adequate funds to complete the work that we are proposing to do.
Who is the professional engineer?
Rick Keller.
Okay, does he have something that's written out, or?
I don't have anything here for you this evening.
Yeah, okay, he should get that. You do?
Yes, there is a report by Rick Keller, who is a licensed professional engineer specializing in structures. Neither Carl or I had that competence, so we hired outside expertise.
Okay. Any other questions of the mayor? Anyone? Yes, Mr. Davis? Pardon?
It's not for the mayor.
Okay. Mr. Gelato, Mr. Mayor Licky, just for clarification, and I don't need a firm figure, but in the aggregate, counting the investment the city has made at that site, how many millions of dollars have we spent on the site of the Kroc Center?
Well,
counting the land,
of course, we've donated the land. We provided $1 million for the fundraising effort to match the gift from Mrs. Kroc so that the center could be built here. We've invested in the intersection. I'd be hard pressed to say, but I would guess a couple of million.
No, not that much.
That's more than $2 million.
$600,000 on Western Chapin, and we budgeted but not completed $150,000 for the intersection at Western Laurel, and then of course the $250,000 on the bridge.
So that's $1 million plus $1 million. plus in value of the land, actually.
Right.
Okay.
You saying $2 million?
Above $2 million, city investment.
Right, just for the record, we're not trying to shortchange the investment. You've been good partners with the Kroc Center from our perspective, from the city's perspective.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions of the mayor or Mr. Najat? All right, seeing none, hearing none. Council members, there a motion, please?
Move that Bill 6511 go to council favorably.
Second.
Motion is made and properly second to send 6 months substitute, pardon?
This is the type of unreadness I'll send before they.
All right, go ahead.
We just want to make some points about this project and how all of these things have come up. Now, I've already pledged my support for the bridge because of the outcry from the residents in the district that I represent. So there was no 50-50 with me. I'm always 100% with the people that put me in the office, the people that I work for. However, there's these concerns that are out there now about traffic patterns and how many cars. And I've been talking about this for the last 3 years. You guys, we have to begin to start looking at these things a little bit more proactively, because what I'm afraid of, and I'm going to tell you, there is going to be probably some issues with the kids crossing the street over there. I even had concerns about the way the building was being built. Rather than on the street corner with the back facing the intersection, why not further onto the property closer to the train tracks? I took a lot of hits off of those things, and now we're seeing those things come to fruition. And hopefully, prayerfully, we don't see anything tragic that happens in that area. But the traffic pattern and the restriction of the way the streets are going to be right now we're talking about a major artery into this area that will no longer be a major artery. Because when traffic becomes congested, it tends to go the opposite way. It doesn't want to go that way. So what we're going to get into is like a lot of the businesses that are in that area probably will never will cease to exist. And we're talking about an island that's in the middle of Western Avenue, telling you can turn left or right, and you can't even turn left or right because there's a curve right there. We have to be getting a little look at where we're at. And maybe I'm the only person that travels the street. I don't know. I don't know what your daily travels are like. But this has been a point of contention on my end as a district representative for the last 3 years. And now we're looking at it now, and it's like, oh, here it is. It's too late to change the traffic pattern or even change the street. It's over with. It's in place. So, you know, I'm vexed right now because I'm really looking at this situation like I've been talking about traffic patterns for the last 2 years. And here we are. So hopefully the second district will no longer take any more hits based upon our lack of information or education about it. And I hope that as we transition into another administration, the communication will be a bit better, and we'll be a little bit more open-minded on how these things are properly vetted. Because the district can't take any more of this pounding. It cannot. What's going to happen is you're going to see a huge population of people taking exodus, and it's going to be bare bones over there.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Let me clarify our position here right now. We have a bill before us, 6511. We have a motion and a second. And in the protocol, we're in a motion. If there's any unreadiness on the motion, I understand very well what Mr. Davis is saying. But the order before the council right now is the motion and the second on Bill 6511. Now, is there any unreadiness related to Bill 6511? Seeing none, hearing none, then council, all in favor so indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Nay. All right, we have one aye, we have one nay. Bill 6511 goes before council favorably. Mr. Wardy, would you please read second reading to Bill 6611?
Public hearing on a bill of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, appropriating $60,000 in City General Fund Number 101 Code Enforcement Department for illegal dumping cleanup activities to be performed by Solid Waste Department and reimbursed from General Fund Number 101 to Solid Waste Operating Fund 610 in 2011.
Thank you, Mr. Ford. Is there a committee report?
Yes, there is. Some time ago, we held a hearing on Bill number 6611, the Personnel and Finance Committee. At that time, the committee voted to send this to the full council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. LaFawn. Presenter, present, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. My name is Stephen Lickey, Mayor of the City of South Bend, offices on the 14th floor of this building. Council had asked us to look at the issue of illegal dumping in our neighborhoods and to propose a manner to reduce the negative impacts that this action has in our neighborhoods. A couple of years ago, as we began to face the impact of the property tax caps, we had made a number of reductions throughout city departments. One of the things that we lost was one of our cleanup crews for code enforcement. We are proposing to address the illegal dumping issue to get caught up on the backlog of illegal dumping sites through the end of the year through an appropriation of dollars that will help us to hire some temporary help and to rent some equipment, pay additional fees for disposing of that debris in the community. And I'd ask Catherine Toppel to come up and do a presentation on the proposal.
Good evening, Council. Catherine Toppel, Director of Code Enforcement of the offices on the 13th floor of this building. For approximately the last year or so, the Council and Administration have been meeting to discuss the effects of illegal dumping in our community, and in fact, looking at how to address this situation throughout the community, similar to the graffiti. With that, we tried to put together a pilot program for the rest of this year. Now, what we do know about illegal dumping is that we need to find a faster, better cleanup of illegal dumping. Illegal dumping, as you know, is a disposal of waste generated at one location and disposed of at another location without authority. Trash, tires, commercial construction debris, residential construction debris, yard waste, appliances. And as we all know, illegal dumping diminishes the value and the quality of life in the neighborhoods. Currently, we have approximately 400 properties to be cleaned in a backlog. The loader was down earlier this year, in addition to the number of illegal dumpings increasing throughout the year. We also cite approximately 300 properties per month that must be cleaned. So we are looking at a capacity of approximately 1,100 per year end. That has now been reduced. When we originally created the PowerPoint, we were looking at a 9-week window to the end of the year. Right now we're at a 6-week window. This is the effect illegal dumping has in the neighborhood. That is actually an abandoned home that had been illegally dumped on. The faster you clean it up, the better it is in the community. What we are proposing today for the $60,000 is to fund and quickly hire 4 temporary cleanup crew. That would be in addition to what's currently at the solid waste department. That would be to the end of 2011. That include any tools and equipment, the rental of an additional loader. We currently do have the dump trucks necessary. This would provide the fuel and the tipping fees to take all the waste materials to Green Tech Transfer Station. They're on Franklin off of Ewing. The code cleanup capacity is approximately 25 jobs per day. Now that's give or take. It depends on the size of the job. Working 5 days a week, 8-hour days, we anticipate about 750 sites can be cleaned by the end of the year. This is, in addition, this is just off one crew. You would double that for 2 crews. This will address the backlog of properties that need to be cleaned and the additional paperwork that we would anticipate receiving. Now, with the council covering the entire city, we would anticipate starting in the hardest hit areas. That is north and south of Lincoln Way West, west of Michigan Street, and also north of Ewing, east of Michigan Street. We would work towards the middle of the center of the city. However, we do anticipate affecting all areas before the end of the year. One additional item that we would like to pilot is a voucher program. Currently, the inspectors will run across somebody who may not have the means to drive all the way across town to the landfill at Prairie View. So with the voucher program, would entitle them one free dumping at Green Tech Transfer. This would be based on the code inspectors running across this person and having conversations with them. It would be on a limited basis. We would anticipate approximately 20 vouchers per month. The budget for the $60,000, the majority of that is going to go to the salaries and benefits. Benefits were included initially. As I mentioned early on, these would be temporary staff, so the benefits won't be necessarily necessary for all of them. However, at the time this was created, we were not aware how many people were still on layoff status. One of the crew members hired back would be any city employees that are on layoff status. This, in addition to salary and benefits, would allow for additional overtime that might be necessary, or probably would be necessary through the end of the year. Your tipping fees, which are the fees that we'd be paying Green Tech Transfer, we anticipate those to skyrocket, frankly, because we anticipate collecting more debris, your vehicle maintenance, fuel, etc. One of the things that we know is illegal dumping diminishes the quality of life in the neighborhoods. We also know additional resources are needed to address the size of the problem. We need to clean up the backlog, which we said we have about 400, and we need to keep up going forward. We also need to continue and coordinate with the neighborhood groups, the cleanups that we do locally. In fact, it was just done a couple of weeks ago. The big example is the Adopt a Block program that has been effective in the Northwest neighborhood since 2003. Started with 7 blocks. We're up over 200 blocks adopted every year. Now, if this pilot program proves to be successful, funding would need to be identified by the new administration going into 2012. Basically, we consider this program a necessity similar to the graffiti program, and a full budget will need to be put together, which you have before you will take us through the end of the year. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to attempt to answer them.
Council, or Mr. Vita.
On the vouchers for the dump, how big of a truck or how big of a hauler will you let people use for free to take to the place on Franklin?
It's just one pickup truckload.
Okay.
Yeah. What we're trying to avoid is right now we run across, and actually a lot of elderly will hire somebody who happens to approach them saying, pay me $50, I'll take it off your hand. We're trying to prevent that and do some education with this and allow them to have a voucher and maybe direct them to some reputable licensed haulers with the City of South Bend.
Secondly, do you have a ballpark estimate for the next administration on what the permanent funding, if you projected that, what that would be, a ballpark figure?
I did project that. $250,000.
Okay, and that would be for 4 employees, or would it be more employees?
That would be for the 4 employees.
4? Okay. And then, I guess, I don't know if you want to answer that, if the decision wasn't made a long time ago to put all the cold cleanup stuff in the solid waste, would you thought we had gotten behind? If you still had the old cold crew, if you're doing all this, we probably would have been very close to being caught up.
That's possible. That's a hard call. Again, with HB 1001, there were a lot of cuts that were made across the board in all departments in looking for efficiencies. Unfortunately, what we also ended up with, particularly this year, is we had a loader go down. When the loader went in to get repaired, they continually sent the wrong parts to the equipment services to get it up and running.
But I'll answer it for you because when you guys did your own cleanup, it was much better than the way it got put out to solid waste. So, I call you this all the time when there's a lot of things that they can't control.
Well, just a real brief follow-up. Basically answered by President Vita. In the transition phase, the $250,000, are you planning to make sure that that's part of that transition team so they would know about that? Because
absolutely.
I know we have a representative here tonight, but I would like to just make sure we understand that because this goes to December 31.
Correct.
And then starting the people who after Christmas and after a lot of other things will be having the issues of illegal dumping right in January. Right now, we will run back into the same problem again.
Correct. This goes, in my opinion, this goes hand in hand with the vacant abandoned housing problem that we have because that's, I believe, why we have so much more illegal dumping going on right now.
If the new administration and new council believe that the pilot program is worth continuing, because we will have started a new budget year, January 1, they could continue to fund this crew even before a new appropriation is passed, because there's budget authority to be able to pay for this activity. So it doesn't necessarily mean that it has to stop January 1, but it is certainly a point of conversation for a new administration and the newly constituted council if they want to continue it, and at some point would have to appropriate the additional dollars so that the total budget for the year will match total expenses.
I agree with you. Should somehow some of that take place in December or the December meeting to cover the month of January because
we can't appropriate in 2000. Any appropriation in 2011 dies at the end of the year.
No matter, okay, we just got to do it.
No, I mean, you could introduce the bill for first reading in December so that it's available for second reading and public hearing and vote at the first meeting in January. That could be done.
That makes sense. Now, who is this one?
The administration.
Could you do the same thing for the December one?
If the council would like me to, we
It was fine. Appreciate it.
Any other questions?
No, really quick. Mayor, Catherine, thank you. We've been working at this for quite some time. Clearly we're going to get some results. Karen White, Health and Public Safety Chairman, thank you as well. A lot of the problem issues and problem properties or vacant lots are over here, and so we're looking forward to some results. And again, thank you.
Yeah, it's a great program. This along with the graffiti program, I think has really helped clean up the city, so thank you.
Council, any more questions?
I would like to thank the members of the Health and Public Safety Committee. This has been a very busy year for us, and I'm very proud to see that some of the issues that we have addressed, that we're seeing the results of those mini meetings over not 6 or 7, 8 months, but over a year. And I would say that the illegal dumping is a priority, and it's one that the council has spent a lot of time. Councilmember Henry Davis has been really advocating for this council to really, in the city, to look at this issue that is growing. So I would hope that the new administration would notice or would see from our interest that this is a top priority and that all of our citizens have the right to live in a clean, safe neighborhood. And this is just one area that we must continue to address as we move forward to 2012.
Council, any other questions? All right, anyone present wishing to speak in favor of Bill 6611, please come to the podium and state your name and address.
Jerry King, again, 730 North Hill Street. And this is one of these issues that has bothered me almost ever since I started living in South Bend, because where I grew up, if there was trash out, then solid waste would just pick it up. It was just normal. But Indiana has different rules, I found out over the years. The biggest problem that I see is that the illegal dumping does not usually take place at the residence of the property owner. It takes place somewhere off an alley or whatever, and I brought some pictures that I've shown my own representative, Ann Pizzello, and you may have seen them as she passes them on. So here's an old chair that's dumped, and it looks like it's in the woods, and here's an old couch that looks like it's dumped in the woods, and here's some old fencing and a box that used to have an appliance in it. It looks like it's dumped in the woods, but you know what? That's at the end of Calorama Street, just off Hill Street, 700 block, just where the 800 block starts. So Calorama Street ends, and it was vacated some years ago. The adjacent property owners at one time were Madison Center, but now I think it's NNRO or the NENC or one of these para-government organizations. So who's code enforcement going to cite? It's almost like citing yourself. I really do hope that this bill goes forward. It's a good pilot program, but one of my questions, and one of the things that I would say toward the end of the year when you reevaluate it, is look at the coordination between code enforcement and solid waste. We all know that solid waste drives their trucks up and down the alleys and the streets every week. And I often wonder if the drivers and or the people who are loading the trash, don't they notice this other stuff? Could they take a picture of it and record the address and turn it into a supervisor, and they say, oh, let's send out one of our crews next week? Or how about we just have that big truck that has the arm on it to come over and grabs a whole appliance and puts it on the back? If they notice it, let's report it and get it done, because a lot of the properties are not owned by somebody who's going to look out their window and say, oh, there's some trash in my yard that wasn't here last night. So I'd like to see increased coordination between the departments so that the job just gets done without a lot of paperwork and the communication that doesn't get done between the organizations and the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. King. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of Bill 6611? Anyone present wishing to speak against it? Seeing none, hearing none. Council, is there a motion, please?
For favor recommendation. Second.
Heard a motion and a second for favorable recommendation for 6611. All in favor, so indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and the motion carries. You'll make a motion to strike from the committee of the whole.
I'd like to make a motion to strike 6211.
I thought we already struck 6211. You've heard the motion and the second to strike 6211. All in favor, so indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. The motion to arise from the committee of the whole.
Second. Council is now in session. Mr. Forty, third reading on 3411.
Third reading on a bill amending the zoning ordinance for property located at 3500 block of East McKinley Avenue and 600 block of Hickory Road, Councilmanic District 4 in the city of South Bend, Indiana.
Move for the passage of bill.
Motion to amend the motion to the whole.
So moved. Second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Seeing none. Now, a motion. Move for the passage of the substitute. Amended bill 3411. Second by Dr. Varner. So, Mr. Vorty, you may proceed, please.
Mr. Henry Davis.
Aye.
Mr. LaFountain.
Nay.
Mrs. Pizzello.
Nay.
Dr. Varner.
Aye.
Vice President Oliver Davis.
Aye.
Mr. Curzon.
Nay.
Councilmember Rouse.
Aye.
Councilmember White.
Aye.
President Dean. It passes by a vote of 6-3.
6511, please.
Third reading on a bill of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, appropriating $250,000 for maintenance of Alonzo Watson pedestrian bridge traversing Chapin Street in the City of South Bend, Indiana in 2011.
Move for the passage of Bill 65-11.
Second.
Mr. Vorty. Mr. LaFountain.
Aye.
Mrs. Pizzello.
Aye.
Dr. Varner.
Aye.
Vice President Oliver Davis.
Aye.
Mr. Curzon.
Aye.
Councilmember Rouse.
Aye.
Councilmember White.
Aye.
Mr. Henry Davis.
Aye.
President Dieter.
Nay.
Passes by a vote of 8-1.
6611.
Third reading on a bill of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, appropriating $60,000 in City General Fund number 101 Code Enforcement Department for illegal dump cleanup activities to be performed by Solid Waste Department and reimbursed from General Fund number 101 to Solid Waste Operating Fund number 610 in 2011.
Move for the passage of bill 6611.
Second.
Supported. Mrs. Pizzello.
Aye.
Dr. Varner.
Aye.
Vice President Oliver Davis.
Aye.
Mr. Curzon.
Aye.
Councilmember Rouse.
Aye.
Councilmember White.
Aye.
Mr. Henry Davis.
Aye.
Mr. LaFountain.
Aye.
President Dieter.
Aye.
9 ayes.
Thank you. We will proceed to resolution 1159, Mr. Vorty.
A resolution of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, approving a petition of the Board of Zoning Appeals of St. Joseph County, Indiana, for the properties located at 618, 622, 626, 636 Lincoln Way East, and vacant land adjacent to and east of 701 South Street, and 611, 613, 701 South Street, and 514 and 518 Rush Street, South Bend, Indiana.
Thank you. And during today's committee meeting, Mr. Kirsten, I believe you discussed the pros and cons of this. Could you give me the results?
Yes, I can, President Dieter. The Zoning and Annexation Committee met this afternoon, and after weighing the pros and cons, sent bill number 1159 to the full council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Lyons.
Mark Lyons, the Building Department, also at 125 South Lafayette. This was given a public hearing at the October 6, 2011 meeting of the Area Board of Zoning Appeals. It is two special exception requests on several properties. The first special exception is for single-family dwellings in the multifamily zoning district. The petitioner is requesting the ability to sell the properties for both single-family or multifamily use. They're currently zoned multifamily within the multifamily zoning district, single family is a special use. Second special exception request on the property is an existing accessory parking lot that services several of the properties. In order to maintain that parking lot through the subdivision, they are required to get a special use. It comes with unanimous favorable recommendation. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Anyone have questions of Mr. Lyons? Seeing none, Mr. Dance, we need a short synopsis of your project.
It will be. Mike Dance from Dance Harner Associates, 1643 Commerce Drive here in South Bend, representing the city of South Bend. Just as Mark had said, what we were asking council to do is to approve both special exceptions, one for single-family use under the multifamily category, and also a special exception for a accessory parking lot. The project that we gave you a copy of is basically so the city of South Bend can put these properties up for sale for owners to either use them for multifamily or for single-family purposes. The plan that I showed council also has 3 additional properties that are vacant, which we are hope will be built on with single-family homes. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer.
Very good. Thank you very much. Anyone have any questions of Mr. Dance? Therefore, anyone like to speak in favor of 1159 and or opposition? Seeing none, may I have a recommendation?
Move for the passage of bill number 1159.
Second.
Adoption.
Second.
I'm gonna get it. Mr. Vorney.
Dr. Varner.
Aye.
Vice President Oliver Davis.
Aye.
Mr. Kersey.
Aye.
Councilmember Rouse.
Aye.
Councilmember White.
Aye.
Mr. Henry Davis.
Aye.
Mr. LaFountain.
Aye.
Mrs. Pizzello.
Aye.
President Dieter.
Aye.
9 ayes.
1157.
A resolution supporting the investment of CAGIT, TIP, UDAG, and CEDIT monies in the Chase Tower in downtown South Bend.
We need a motion here to the substitute version? Or not?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second here to the substitute version. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition to that? Now we have a committee report.
Mr. Dieter, we met this afternoon, the Committee of Economic Development, and discussed 1159 substitute version, and we said it's the full council favorable.
Thank you very much. Mr. Henry Davis.
Thank you. Council members, we spoke about this resolution earlier as it relates to Chase Tower, building downtown South Bend, which happens to be the biggest, tallest 20-foot storage building in downtown South Bend. And I think if I can go a little bit further, it's probably the tallest building in northern Indiana. And currently we're experiencing some issues in 2nd District, as it where it belongs, with the structural foundation or the structural facade, as well as the parking garage particular building, as well as safety concerns as it relates to elevators not working on a consistent basis, or maybe just 1 out of 3 working. If you're dealing with a building that's 25 stories, that could potentially present a hazardous situation. I'm getting fatigued, John. And so, what's going on at this point? We are obviously opening this up for public discussion, and have earlier today to show the need and the urgency to talk about this particular topic in depth and also in detail. One thing that we don't want to have happen is that the Chase Tower, these receivership goes into foreclosure, and then the lights are turned off. Businesses begin to leave because there's more than hotel rooms in there, and the ripple effect on the entire downtown community will be affected, meaning those who work in the building will no longer support the area restaurants that are in the downtown central business district, and so they will see a decrease in their profit margin, which potentially could lead to another business closing in the downtown area. So something of this magnitude, something that is a level, I think it's necessary that we step in. I think it's necessary that we begin to listen, evaluate, vet, investigate, and hopefully we have enough resources, if possible, to potentially help an investor that may want to come in and take over the building.
Thank you very much. Anyone like to speak in favor of 1157? Opposition?
Third time's a charm. Jesse Davis, 1333 East Tower, South Bend. Normally I agree with Henry on a lot of things. I'm just not sure that I agree with taking more tax dollars, no matter where they're coming from, and investing in a private sector business. I'm kind of curious on how many tenants are in that building and what kind of dollars we're talking about that are generated there. I know someone's looking at purchasing that property. I'm not sure if that deal's went through yet, but I did find out through some research on the internet. I believe the gentleman who's trying to purchase the building has already incorporated a business using that address as his business address. So I don't know if anybody has done any research on that to find out if that transactions went through, and he in fact owns that, or if the bank owns it. I was also curious as if anybody has looked into when Chase had that building, and they moved out of that because Chase Bank happened to get one of the largest bailout amounts from our government of our tax dollars already, and now we're stuck with a building that you want to put our tax dollars into. I think we need to concentrate those tax dollars in other places where the entire community is going to benefit, other than in the private sector, where they probably don't belong anyway.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak in opposition? Mr. Davis, do you want any rebuttal?
Sure. Your concerns are what they are, and I respect them. However, again, you're dealing with a juggernaut. That building comes down. Turn the Christmas lights off. South Bend will probably be very difficult to even say that we're not dying. You'll probably see some more postings in Wall Street Journal and everywhere else giving us bad press, which will then again stop us from recruiting potential suitors or businesses to this area. I wouldn't like to play chicken with this type of situation with a building of this magnitude. Normally I wouldn't even, go about business this way. However, I think we're in a situation where we can lose big or we can maintain. And I'd rather maintain than lose big. I just really hope that, if the gentleman is and has stuff to does this, I'm not aware of that, but I think that's a part of the process of acquiring a piece of property, so he's well within his right to do that. I don't think there's anything underhanded or anything going on that could potentially be looking wrong. I hope someone buys it. Where we're standing at right now is we're trying to look at a situation that's in dire need of some support. And as a city, to make sure the lights stay on downtown, we better step in because we're the city leaders. So it's just an opportunity for us to, like I said, maintain, and hopefully we can grow from this rather than taking a big loss. So I look forward to working in the future, as well as we stated in the resolution. I hope you get a copy of the resolution so anyone else in the crowd can get one as well. Working with the next administration on this particular measure. We spoke about that in committee earlier, and when we were talking about is making sure that we have enough people at the table that has a keen interest on what's going on. I think we've talked about an at-large member who is chairman of the CED committee, Community Economic Development Committee. We've talked about the district councilman, which is myself. We've talked about someone from the transition team for the mayor-elect's office, and also from the current administration as well, to come up with something that really makes sense for the community, because if we don't make this happen for the community will disband and probably start moving away, and I would hate to be compared to Gary again. So, again, I look forward to the support from my council colleagues, and personally, this works. This is going to work.
Yes, sir. Could we have our attorney read the amended part for, I think that was amended section number 5, because this is a key thing that I think you need to notice. If you probably read the original, it had a dollar figure in there, $6.5 million. I think if you pay close attention to our discussions now as you read it, you will probably hear a change.
There were 2 sections that were amended. The new section 4 reads as follows. The Common Council calls upon representatives of the current city administration, representatives of the mayor-elect, the redevelopment commission, the 2nd district council members, the chairperson of the council's committee, community and economic development committee, to collaborate together to so that the redevelopment of the Chase Tower is successfully concluded with all due speed. Updates shall be made on a timely basis to the Council's Community and Economic Development Committee. And then in section 5, the Common Council supports the use of the appropriate revenue streams for the repair, acquisition, alteration, and/or renovation of the Chase Tower.
I'd like for you to review that. We took out the $6.5 million, and we wanted to leave it open. But now, this is for discussion only, and why several of us have similar concerns of what you're talking about. And as you see, this is a panel of people that will be coming together to look at what are we going to do, and to look at all the potential revenue streams that we can consider before we even move forward, and then we bring back to this body so we can make a better decision. And so we won't be caught in the last minute as previously done. We want to be out there, and that's why I think Councilman Davis took the initiative to take the lead so we can stay up to date on those issues. So there's no funding has been promised at all for this endeavor at this time, and that's one of the key things. So we can meet with the new administration to move forward. So we haven't promised a dime, but it's a matter of us just making sure that we're ahead of the game, since this is a crisis for this particular area of the business, and so we can have full understanding of it ahead of time. So your concerns are well taken.
Therefore, do we have a recommendation from the council?
If I could, just quickly make comment.
Yes, Mr. LaFountain.
Though I don't have a problem with the spirit of the resolution, in that the city should do everything it can to maintain the Chase Tower building, I do have some qualms, in particular with what appears to be the council trying to inject itself into what I feel is the business of the mayor's office and the executive in order to work on contracts, in order to bring about business to the area. I agree that there should always be information passed freely, but I think that the executive should have the ability to work freely and not under constraints which might harm their ability to find somebody to come into the Chase building. So for that reason, I'm voting against the resolution.
Okay, so now do we have a recommendation?
Excuse me, President.
Yes.
If we weren't allowed to do this, then I would be able to draft a resolution and file it with the office. I think that this is within our councilmanic duties, our elected body, our elected powers. Am I correct, Kathy?
The spirit of your resolution is to be a collaborative effort with the final authority, depending on if there would be any city financing, and that's an if at this stage, depending on the type. It's basically setting up a process so that leveraging of potential public dollars can be addressed.
And, Chairman, I would also like to say it is the better we are informed and the more we have input from the initial part of planning, helps us to better inform our constituents who ask us questions on a daily basis when we go to the stores, we go out in public, people ask us questions, and to not be informed on these matters, I think is derelict in our duty. And so, therefore, I agree with Mr. Davis that we should be able, not necessarily to cause any harm, but to be informed. And I think our information is key, information is power, and information is the right of those who have elected us to be here.
Therefore, do we have a recommendation from someone?
Move for the favorable adoption of substitute bill.
Second.
1157.
Thank you. Mr. Vorty, you may now read that roll.
Vice President Oliver Davis.
Aye.
Mr. Kersey.
Aye.
Councilmember Rouse.
Aye.
Councilmember White.
Aye.
Mr. Henry Davis.
Aye.
Mr. LaFountain.
Nay.
Mrs. Puzella.
Aye.
Dr. Varner.
Aye.
And President Dieter.
Nay.
It passes by a vote of 7-2.
Can I have a motion to continue 1160 to 1128?
Second.
Mr. Vorty. We don't need that. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Thank you. 1165, please.
A resolution of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, authorizing the City of South Bend to participate in the Indiana Finance Authority Abandoned Landfill Initiatives Coalition for the purpose of submitting an application to the United States Environmental Protection Agency for a brownfields community-wide assessment grant.
Thank you very much. Past President Ralph, I believe you had a committee meeting today, didn't you? You had, pardon? I think you had a committee meeting today. We talked about this, and after that committee meeting, you said...
When did we decide as a committee meeting?
I think you said favorable.
Very good. We did, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Now, short synopsis, please.
Very short. Ann Pallotta with Department of Community and Economic Development offices on 12th floor of this building. The resolution, I'm kind of wondering why I'm always the last one on your agenda, but other than that, the resolution authorizes us to participate in a coalition for a grant application submitted by the Indiana Finance Authority on behalf of the Indiana Brownfields Program for $1 million assessment grant from EPA for a community-wide assessment program across the state of Indiana targeting abandoned landfills. We have one abandoned landfill in South Bend that they are recommending be considered. If it is eligible, we will need approximately, if awarded, the application has to go in the end of November. If awarded, we would hear about that in May, and then it would take until October for funding to come. So there would be about a year to put all the pieces in place for getting the site approved.
Excellent. Yes, sir. Now, do you need support letters?
I'm getting support letters from, I have one from the Chamber of Commerce, and I'm getting one from Rum Village Neighborhood.
I needed to send that over to them because the email didn't work.
It's okay. It's under control.
You got that all together?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yep.
Alright, so, we'll get them all out.
And the intent of the state is to get the application turned in before Thanksgiving.
I understand. Thank you so much for doing that.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Anyone like to speak in favor? And in opposition? Seeing none, council may I have a recommendation?
Move for the adoption.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Mr. Horty? No. Mr. Gerson?
Aye.
Councilmember Rouse?
Aye.
Councilmember White?
Aye.
Mr. Henry Davis? Aye. Mr. LaFountain?
Aye.
Mrs. Pizzello?
Aye.
Dr. Varner?
Aye.
Vice President Oliver Davis?
Aye.
President Dieter?
Aye.
9 ayes. Thank you. May we get a first reading on 6711? First reading on a bill amending the zoning ordinance for property located at 4901 Greenleaf Lane, Councilmanic District 2 in the city of South Bend, Indiana.
Move it. For the Area Planning Commission.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Seeing none. 6811. First reading on a bill of the Common Council of the city of South Bend, Indiana, setting the annual salaries for the council members for calendar year 2012.
Well, 6811, go to Personnel and Finance, and be set for second reading and third reading on November 28th.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition to that? Seeing none. 6911, please. First reading on a bill of the Common Council of the city of South Bend, Indiana, setting the annual salary for the city clerk for the calendar year 2012.
Move that 6911 go to Personnel and Finance, be set for second, third reading, and public hearing on 11/28.
Very good. Motion and second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposition to that? Seeing none. 7011. First reading on a bill of the Common Council of the city of South Bend, Indiana, concerning the construction of improvements to the municipal waterworks of the city of South Bend, Indiana, authorizing the issuance of revenue bonds for such purpose in the principal amount not to exceed $8,300,000, addressing other matters connected therewith, including the issuance of notes in anticipation of bonds and repealing ordinances inconsistent herewith.
Move to 7011, go to Utilities Committee, second, third reading, public hearing on 11/28.
Second. A motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? 7111, please. First reading on a bill amending the zoning ordinance for property located at 3321 Mishawaka Avenue, South Bend, Indiana, 46615, Councilmanic District 3 in the city of South Bend, Indiana.
Move that area plan.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposition? 7211, please.
First reading on a bill amending the zoning ordinance for property bounded as follows. On the west side, by the center line of Georgiana Street, on the north by lots 71, 74, 107, and 110 of Hartman and Miller's Flat and Napoleon Street, on the east by lots 13 through 18 and 20 of Hartman and Woodworth's Plat, and on the south by South Bend Avenue, also known as State Road 23, South Bend, Indiana 46617, Councilmanic District 4 in the city of South Bend, Indiana.
Move this for the Area Planning Commission.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
No opposition, I would assume. 7311.
First reading on a bill of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, setting the annual salary for the mayor for calendar year 2012.
Move this go to Personal Finance to be set for second and third reading and public hearing on 11/28.
Second. Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? 7411.
First reading on a bill of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, amending Chapter 21 of the South Bend Municipal Code, Article 2, Residential Districts, to allow the raising and care of chickens as an accessory use and adding certain related definitions.
For the Area Planning Commission.
Second.
Bless you. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Unfinished business. May I have a motion to send bills 1162 and 1163 to zoning and annexation for 11/28/11?
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Also, request for bill 1118 to be accepted as a second substitute and put on for public hearing and third reading for 11/28. Consent to Public Works and Property Vacation. Aye. All in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Thank you very much. Any new business before the council?
Really quick, President Dieter, I just wanted to publicly apologize for my comments earlier about Western Avenue, street count along with Chapin Street. I didn't mean any harm, but I just, have some frustration dealing with that whole situation over the last 3 or 4 years. But please, charge it to my head, not to my heart. It's just something that I find that we need to, as council people, work together on when a council member from the district that's closely involved in a situation and knows what's going on and saying, hey, look out. And we obviously, either ain't gonna listen or think that something else is going on. But didn't mean to hurt anyone's feelings or make anyone feel bad. It's just that saw this coming up, a few years before, and here we are dealing with it now, and it's kind of like you can't reverse it. But again, sorry if I offended you.
Any other new business before the council? Seeing none, privilege of the floor. Anybody wants to step up to that microphone and give your name and address? You have 3 minutes, and will be signed by Councilmember Curtis.
Jim Zersnack, 1518 Pine Top Trace, Mishawaka. I ask for the council to use its influence to close down the squatters camp just east of Morris Civic. The presence of the Occupy South Bend group on this prime piece of downtown property is an affront to the people of the South Bend area. A good deal of money has been spent on that area to make it a beautiful addition to downtown. Now it looks like a trash heap. The Occupy group should not have been allowed to set up a series of tents. They have gone beyond the constitutional right to peaceably assemble. To assemble does not mean to take over public property and live there. I visited the encampment last Friday and yesterday. When I asked the apparent leader, Jonathan, if they had a permit, he told me that they didn't need one and that they were getting the promise of assistance from the legal department, quote, if they had any trouble. It looks like the 14th floor is pleased to have an Occupy camp in downtown South Bend. Has it become a status symbol for cities? What if a group of anti-abortion people attempted to set up several tents in the same area and vowed to stay there indefinitely until the abortion laws were changed to their satisfaction? Or what if a Christian group squatted there, threatening to stay until the television and movie honchos cleaned up their product? I think in both cases the squatters would be arrested and the camp destroyed. Injunctions would fly out of the 14th floor to suppress those groups. The Occupy movement is playing out as one part tragedy and one part farce. The tragedy is seen in Oakland, California, and New York City. In both cities, local officials confront a no-win situation because they allowed the movement to grow instead of closing it down in its early stages. Both mayors have a tiger by the tail. The situation in Oakland is particularly troubling, with hardcore anarchists taking over from the more peaceful elements. The situation there is grave. The farce is in places like South Bend, where the protest movement borders on the pathetic. That's all the more reason to end the presence of occupied South Bend while it can be done peaceably. Nothing much seems to be going on, and it is a depressing experience to talk with the only 3 people who were there in my 2 visits. The leader, Jonathan, who I've been told is from Elkhart and the father of a youngster, is the only one who spends the night there. He is committed to staying there throughout the winter. He faces a serious illness if he does, and also there's danger for him from late-night inhabitants of downtown. He is a target for robbers and worse. By ending the occupation of that area, you allow him to return to a better life without the stigma of quitting. Do him a possible life-giving favor. Close down the camp. Restore that area to the inviting place it has always been. I ask if any of you have been down to the camp. Don't go there. It's a bummer. You'll be depressed.
Anyone else?
Rita Paula, 66559 Ivy Road, Lakeville, Indiana. I basically want to tell you, wonderful people here, that I'm saving what I have to say to contradict that for the next meeting we have, because I'm not ready for it yet. But I thought this country was made up of people should be able to get out and say what they think if they aren't causing anybody any trouble. That's free speech, remember? Along with the transparency and the public access, a lot of which you never get. I found out about a meeting today that took place when they didn't even have time to... Anyhow, I don't agree with that. People are in dire need. They need something to do, and 2% of the richest people are the ones that are making out like champs, and we sit here and give people hell because they're getting out there saying, I'm sick of the way things are running and it's time to do something. And then you wonder why nobody comes to these meetings? Thank you.
Anybody else that wants to speak? Come on right up.
Come on, Gary.
I wasn't planning on this, but I 730 North Hill Street, South Bend, Gary King, and just don't want to miss my chance to say, people who come from Lakeville and Mishawaka, I think the council should make a resolution on this president to invite them to come back to South Bend, pay some taxes here, and then we can really pay attention to the opinions of our residents so that we can make the city a better place for everybody who lives here. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. Anybody else from the news media want to speak to us? Right now, it's privilege of the floor, seen none. Come on up there and get your whatever.
Connected there with anticipation of